Here are 2 drills to help transfer your spiking sequence from the ground to the air. Now the first drill is standing spikes, but we're working on the spiking sequence. Now the reason why we're starting on the ground is because if we can train the technique that we want on the ground and make this automatic, it's gonna make it a lot easier to do it in the air. But the key is to replicate the same actions that you would do in the air on the ground. So this means that we're not stepping into the spike. We're practicing the actions the way we'd use them in the air. So the spiking sequence that I designed is comprised of 5 main actions. That's the pullback, the hip shift, the torso rotation, the arm action, and the deceleration, with each phase having its own smaller phases in action. I go into a lot more detail in other videos and in our online programs, but these are the main phases that we want to be working on when we're practicing these standing spikes. Spike throws or even practicing without a ball can be a great option here as well, so that you can focus less on the contact point, the timing, the accuracy, and more on the technique. Now the other thing to note is that some athletes will change the technique as soon as they toss the ball. Now for these athletes, I like adding their preferred pullback after they toss the ball so that we can sync the pattern with the situation. Now once we get that down and the technique is more automatic, which takes a lot of consistent reps, some of you may already feel like your technique is a lot better in the air. And this is just because you practice the pattern, you practice the technique, you ingrain that pattern. And sometimes athletes expect 10 reps to fix 10 years of patterns, but that's just not gonna happen. With more consistent reps, the more automatic it'll become. But to help solidify it, the second drill is an approach jump with a pullback. So just like the toss with the pullback, we're applying the spike approach technique and jump and syncing it with starting the spiking sequence. Not only are we practicing initiating the spiking sequence in the air, but we're also practicing the spike approach technique. And the more automatic we can make our spike approach, the less we have to focus on it and the more we can focus on actually spiking. You're just gonna start with the spike approach jump if that needs work, and then you can progress it with complexity and add layers. So we can add the pullback after the jump to practice starting the spiking sequence in the air. Then when that's more consistent and automatic, then we can add something like throws or some light spikes, making sure we're focusing on the technique. That same feeling that we got on the ground when we were practicing the spiking sequence, we wanna try to focus on finding that same feeling and applying that same technique in the air. Now for some, I may not even want them hitting over a net just yet, just because it can change their pattern. So for those athletes, we can just do a toss and approach jump and hit, but we're just not hitting over a net just yet. I'd want them to get more comfortable with the technique and really ingrain that, and then we can progress it and add some layers and sync the technique with the situation as they improve their basics and qualities like the vertical jump, which can have an effect on the pattern as well. So those are your 2 drills. Don't skip ahead. Really take the time to make this automatic so you can make the most out of these drills and transfer your spiking technique from the ground to the air.